on WHYL 960 AM radio from 8:30 till 9. Listen as evangelists Casey and Claire Lynn DeJesus sing for the glory of God. Let it bless your heart and soul. Let God's word minister to you as evangelist Casey DeJesus delivers an anointed message in faith and power from on high. Over a half-century of friendship and confidence, Hollinger Funeral Home and Crematory of Mount Holly Springs is the funeral home families depend on, now offering pet cremation services too. Owner and supervisor Eric Hollinger, Robert Felburn III, and M. Annan Hollinger, licensed funeral directors, are committed to compassionate care. Call them today at 486-3433 and ask about traditional funeral and burial services or on-site cremation for yourself, a family member, or a pet. Shouldn't you be the one to make the decisions about your final arrangements? Plan your funeral now according to your wishes. You may also pre-fund it at today's rates to ensure against future price increases. Hollingers will also honor the transfer of your existing pre-arrangements with another funeral home to theirs. Pre-planning relieves your family of a heavy burden at a stressful time. You can depend on compassion in your time of need from Eric Hollinger and his professional staff at the Hollinger Funeral Home and Crematory, 501 North Baltimore Avenue, Mount Holly Springs.
The law firm of Scaringi & Scaringi has been providing high-quality legal representation throughout central Pennsylvania since 2005. Our 14 attorneys have nearly 200 years of combined legal experience. We are a full-service law firm with offices in Harrisburg, Carlisle, and Newport. Whether it's divorce or custody, criminal defense, bankruptcy, estates, or any of the other major practice areas, our attorneys are experienced, highly skilled, and ready to fight for you. Call now for an initial consultation.
Does your life seem meaningless? Do you feel a void in your spirit, an emptiness in your soul? Does it appear that there's no hope? Are there issues and problems in your life that you want to break away from and feel like you can't? Do you wonder, how can I be free from these issues that have destroyed my life? Well, my friend, I have the answer. Bible Way Hibner Memorial Church of God in Christ presents Chain Breakers, this and every Sunday at 9 a.m. here on WHYL.
From the L.B. Smith Ford Lincoln Studios, this is WHYL Carlisle.
It's time now for the Real Estate Radio Guy with real estate broker John Rainville. For the next hour, you'll learn everything about national real estate topics, trends, and news revolving around Central PA. It's sponsored by Equity Prime Mortgage, EnviroQuest Inspections, and SearchHomesInPA.com. And now, here's the Real Estate Radio Guy, John Rainville.
Good morning, Pennsylvania and Maryland, because I heard from some of you folks that we weren't giving you a shout out, and I guess on that 960 AM we're reaching all the way to Baltimore, and so you wanted me to say good morning to you too. So good morning, Pennsylvania and Maryland today. Hey, an exciting show today. Part of our topic is going to be should I sell my home when I retire, and we're also going to have on Jesse Storm, who's a top producing real estate agent from Lancaster County, explaining how to market your home and what his team does specially to get your property sold. And we're going to have John Staz from EnviroQuest on, and today he's going to be talking about energy tips to help you save money. So good morning, Kingsley. How are you doing, buddy?
Good morning. You didn't hear my bells going off?
No, you got to get bigger bells. Maybe we got to get you a cowbell. A couple cowbells.
This is my cool Christmas jester hat that I'm going to wear specifically for the show.
Fantastic. Everyone can see it.
Yes. So, Merry Christmas, obviously. We forgot to touch on that. It is Christmas Eve. It's a little kind of cold or warm and rainy, I suppose. Not as warm as last year, but I'm really looking forward to Christmas this year. And a great show. So... yeah, I mean, this was a fabulous year. A lot of things to, be thankful for the year.
Yeah, it's exciting. So listen, folks, if you want to call in, our number is 717-249-1787, 249-1787. But we're going to jump in before Jesse calls in here this morning and talk a little bit about it. lately I've been getting a lot of questions when I'm talking to consumers, and maybe the wife's retiring here at the end of the year, the husband, and they're saying, "Hey, John, should I sell my home when we retire? And if I am, what are we looking at?" I have one customer right now. They're looking to sell their home here after the first of the year. They've decided that they're going to get an RV and travel the country.
Can't argue with that.
Hey, I want to tag along. Some people want to sell their home when they retire and move to something smaller. Maybe they have that big 3,000 or 4,000 square foot house. And I know even at my house, we probably only use 1,000 square feet. So I could actually cut down to probably a 2-bedroom condo now. And they just don't, or they're looking to, change areas. Maybe go south and get some warm weather, or move to Belize. But there's some pros of selling. If you are able to shelter up to $250,000 on your sale, keep that out of the taxes. So that can be a good thing. And if you do sell, you can always invest those funds into the market. The stock market's been doing good. You could talk with a financial advisor. Should you decide to rent and not buy maybe a smaller home, your advantage there is you're going to still have your capital that you could invest or do something else with, and you're pretty much going to have a set amount every month. You're not going to have to worry about that budgeting for that roof or furnace repair or replacement down the road.
And by the way, it is up to $500,000 if you're married. So, for all you retiring couples, you can sell your home and leave $500,000 on the table tax-free.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, yeah. So you're moving down to Florida, you're downsizing to a condo.
Wow.
Something small, you still have some cash in the bank. Or, if you guys have been listening to our show, there are many advantages of money that you can put in to other investments to gain income off of tax-free. So if you're downsizing, retiring, moving to Florida, listen to our old shows, by the way.
That's true. You could do one of those 1031 exchanges, one of those Starker exchanges. But you have to factor in things, folks, like the property taxes that you're paying, the utilities. If you've got that big house, are you using it? Is it the best use of your money? Some people do decide to stay put, but they've, put plans in place to make their home more energy efficient. Remember, here in Pennsylvania, you can homestead your house and get a small break on your school taxes right now. So that's a really, really good thing. And everyone's different. So you have to really, talk with your spouse and decide what you want to do when you retire.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of options, but it really just depends on what you want to do. And keep in mind, too, that as a big option, and I think it scares a lot of people, is a reverse mortgage. So for, the older couple, of course, you have to be 62 years of age. The youngest of you has to be 62 years of age. It's something to look into, because as you get older and you retire, your income is obviously going to go down. And this is definitely not something to jump on board with. But just keep in mind, with a reverse mortgage, typically when you qualify for this, you no longer have payments on your current residence. Now, the word reverse, I think, scares a lot of people. Well, what do you mean reverse mortgage? Well, actually, there's two different ways to look at the term reverse. One is, if you've got equity in your property, it will actually pay you instead of you having to pay for a mortgage. So that is one way to look at it. And yes, there are some downsides to a reverse mortgage. Obviously, as the months go on, you start to lose a little bit of equity in your home. In essence, you're kind of paying the mortgage, but you're not having to pay for it. So, there's a lot of factors that go into it, age being one, what interest rates are, and, of course, what your equity is in the property. So reverse mortgages are certainly something that I would at least put on the table for discussion. It's certainly something you want to discuss with your family. to make sure they're okay with it, because, at the end of the day, when it comes time to having to settle on that home, usually 3 different ways you can move away when it's no longer your primary residence. And usually they use that for a 12-month period. Another is obviously is if you pass away, and that would have to be both of you, not just one particular person if you're married. But let's say, for example, you like to be you spring down to Florida for the wintertime, go down for 3 or 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and still keep your primary residence where you're at, and in essence get paid to go down to Florida.
That would be great to be able to live in both communities, both have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's just the term seems to be a little bit scarier for most. But it's a great option for those that want, have limited income but want to stay in their home. Why not? You can live in it as long as you live. They don't kick you out at any given point, but certainly something to put on the table.
The other nice thing, and reason that people like to sell or move, some people will sell a house and move to a condo or a townhome. Like we've talked to several townhome, had people on the show here, where you have no maintenance. For example, like Sutherland there in Lancaster, where it's no snow, no mow. So depending on your pet situation, you can sort of live a carefree lifestyle and come and go as you please. So if you have that second home in Florida, or maybe just at the shore, maybe you want a place down there at Ocean City, you can sort of travel back and forth just as you like and not have to worry about things.
Yeah, with no maintenance, which is great. Really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, low maintenance is absolutely, key thing. And remember, folks, if you have a question, you can call in today, 717-249-1787. Good morning. 717-249-1787.
And I think we actually have Jesse finally on the line. We had a little bit of technical difficulties there. And Jesse is going to talk to us.
Well, Jesse's going to be talking with us about... he's got a killer marketing plan. Jesse Storm sells properties half the state of Pennsylvania. Okay, commercial, residential. He even lists and sells homes in Maryland. His team is just extraordinary at what they do. He has developed this. This isn't just, something he developed overnight. He's been doing this for several years, and I'm excited to have him work for me as a real estate broker because he's on the cutting edge. He really is.
And you have to be in this industry. So we're going to talk to him, I guess, about what he does and obviously why he's so good at what he does. Jesse, are you on?
I am, yes.
Good morning. How are you today?
Fantastic. Merry Christmas to everybody there.
Merry Christmas to you. Thank you.
Now, just remember, Jesse, I need like a 3X, not a Chinese 3X. I need an American 3X. I need a big 3X.
Sure.
So, Jesse, what we want to talk with you about today is, I know you've been doing this. How long have you been in the business?
I've been a real estate licensed agent for 6 years. Flipped homes for 13 years prior.
Wow. And most of you're based out of Lancaster County, but I know you have commercial properties listed up in Hazleton, residential in Maryland. You really cover a broad market.
I always tell everybody that I work from Philadelphia to Shippensburg, from the New York line to Washington, D.C.
That's a pretty big market. So, Jesse, I know you run a sales team. You've had your team for a number of years here. And most of our listeners, may be thinking about selling their home over the course of the next year because we know the inventory is still tight. Prices are coming up. Interest rates are going up. So the timing right now is perfect probably for somebody to get their home on the market right after the beginning of the year. Can you explain to them sort of what do you do that's different?
I do a lot that's different. I mean, one of the things that we specialize in as a company and as a team is deploying directions for sales in marketing that most other real estate companies have no clue of, doing. When you're hiring a realtor and a brokerage to represent you to sell your home or even to buy a home, you're paying them to perform and provide service to you, not just to throw a house in the MLS, sit back and twiddle your thumbs waiting for the buyer to come in. So, because we do work such a vast area, we belong to multiple MLS services, which is called a multi-listing service, which is what the realtors use. So your average realtor, your average broker subscribes to one for their local community. So if they're in Harrisburg, they put it in the Harrisburg market MLS. If they're in Lancaster, they put it in the Lancaster MLS. If they're York County, they put it in the York County MLS. Because we work such a large area, we have MLSs that we belong to multiple MLSs that cover majority of the country. And so when we take a listing, we put that listing into all of the different MLSs that we work in, which gets you almost worldwide coverage between all of these MLSs. So people that are in a different area that are looking to relocate, their local realtor that they're using to sell their home in California are seeing these in the multi-lists across the country. And then we step up to the plate, because if you're selling, a $500,000 home and you're talking about, a huge commission, or $1 million home and you're talking about a huge commission, most of these realtors will just sit there and wait for the thing to sell and then collect this big commission. We deploy advertising. My job is being your marketing guru, not just being a realtor by name. So we're putting this out into all of these different MLSs. We're having a professional photography company come out and take professional photos, wide-angle photos, not fisheyes, not where you got those bows on the corners of the pictures and stuff like that, but wide-angle photos that are magazine quality. That way, curb appeal, what we look at is curb appeal back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was when you drove down the road and pulled over along the curb and you looked at the house with all of the mulch done and the shutters all pretty and the front of the house pressure washed. That was curb appeal back in the day. In 2017, curb appeal is online. So when we broadcast your home to over 3,500 different real estate websites to market your home, that curb appeal happens online. So people want to see high-quality photos. And by having a professional photographer take those photos, we're able to keep people looking at your home and having their interest captured online with those photos, which is now where curb appeal is. Because if it's only one picture of your home or 10 pictures of your home, people flip past and keep looking for the next home, especially if they're just point-and-shoot camera photos or, phone pictures of the home. What comes next from that is, we do floor plans, because a lot of wives and families love to be able to envision how their furniture is going to fit into the home, into the living room, if their king-size bed and their bedroom suite is going to fit in the master bedroom. So by doing the floor plans, people can envision putting their furniture into the home.
So
but
Jesse,
we don't stop there.
Jesse, this sort of sounds like a lot of the things that you do are really to the seller's benefit more so than just the marketing, because it sounds like this might save a lot of time for the seller where they don't have to get out of the home because the consumer has such a better idea of what that home's like before they ever come out there, right? They've got to.
Correct.
They can do almost like a virtual walkthrough.
And I would imagine that the people that are coming out seem to probably be a little bit more serious about it because they have all this information in front of them, floor plans, pictures, photos, and I'm sure, I've heard that there are other types of videos and aerials and everything else. So if somebody is looking at this home and they legitimately schedule a showing, they've already seen everything online. They want to actually come out and see this house.
Jesse, you do drone photos too, don't you? You have to tell a lot of
Correct.
people don't know what a drone is. They think we drone on.
We were one of the first teams, licensed agents, to have FAA registration to be able to continue to fly our drones because we were doing drones prior to the FAA getting involved. So one of the ways we weed out showings for our sellers and for our buyers is we do aerial photos. We do a 360 pan around the neighborhood. So that way, if there's a buyer out there that says, I don't want a house that's right on top of the next home, by doing those photos, our sellers don't have to clean a house and leave for an hour and a half, 2 hours, for somebody to walk up on the front lawn and say, Mr. Realtor, let's skip this house because it's too close to the next one. I don't like the way how close this is to the neighboring houses. So we're weeding out those showings that are going to waste our sellers' time, but we're also providing a service to the buyer so that way they can pinpoint the specific house that they want, so that way they're not wasting their time out looking at homes that don't fit their needs.
Another nice thing that I know that you do is you really do a lot of heavy internet marketing. I mean, I know you're on, our company site, searchhomesinpa.com. You're on brokersrealty.com. You're on realtor.com. Your website is, Jesse?
The JesseStormTeam.com. It's very simple. You just go to stormteamrealestate.com. So it's StormTeamRealestate.com. And from that site, one of the things that we do differently than all the other real estate companies out here is, sellers' disclosures, which is a lengthy form that takes sellers a long time to fill out, really aren't publicized by your big brokerages out there or realtors because they want to keep these things close to their chest, but it's public information. So when you go on stormteamrealestate.com and you select a home that you want to go see, one of the tabs there is documents. So if the realtors uploaded the seller's disclosure, the utility sheets, all of that stuff that's public record, you can see it right from our website without having to call some other realtor to have them give you that little piece of paper.
So, Jesse, what type of information will they find on that document you're calling the seller's property disclosure?
Well, seller's disclosure is going to give a vast amount of information, from what type of water and sewer system it is, what type of repairs have been done, what the sellers have done during their home ownership for repairs and upgrades to the home. It's really going to disclose, the best of the seller's public information, the best of their knowledge, what is transpiring with that home. And it gives you an insight to how well the home has been maintained and taken care of over that prior homeowner's ownership.
So it even tells them things like if the roof's leaked, if they've gotten their basement flooded, anything like that, if they've had a fire in there. Gives them sort of like a synopsis of what's happened to that house during the current owner's ownership, correct?
Correct. So, besides the photos, the floor plans, the aerial photos, we're given our clients and our sellers and buyers all of the documentation all the public documentation without having to make you fight for it. But we're deploying this stuff out through, AdWords and retargeting and AdWorks and all of these different online marketing programs because, what we do then is just like any other marketing program is people have to see the property. 10 times before they fall in love and want to buy it. So by putting this stuff out there to the public and marketing it, we then use reverse targeting, where the system actually captures an IP address and reserves your home to potential buyers who've looked at your property. So just like when you go online and you're looking to buy a new pair of boots or a hunting jacket for the hunting season or a new purse for the ladies, and then for the next 30 days after that, suddenly those things keep popping up. We do the same thing with homes, because my job is to be your marketing guru.
So, Jesse, I mean, it really sounds, and I happen to know, you're not the typical realtor, because you're actually spending a lot of your own money out of your pocket day one on these homes. If you're paying for a professional photographer, if you're paying for somebody to come in and do a floor plan, you're paying for somebody to come and do a drone shot, and then all this marketing. Does it cost a lot extra to utilize your services, your team's services?
Well, it's funny you ask that. At the end of the day, we provide the same service to a buyer who's selling a $10,000 trailer as the service that we provide to multi-million-dollar homes. And because we do it for everybody, we've been able to go out into the marketplace and negotiate fantastic pricing to be able to bring the same level of service to every homeowner at a very affordable price, so we can provide all of these things to these homeowners at the same price that your basic realtor that is going to take your listing and put it out on the market just on the MLS does. So, that same average price that you're paying to every other brokerage to do next to no service for you is what we charge to provide all of the services and marketing that we do.
That's just phenomenal. I mean, that you're giving them all this extra marketing, that you're paying for all these things out of your pocket before you've made dime one, and you're not charging any more for it. If someone's looking to put their home on the market here now, today, or after the first of the year, what would be the best number for one of our listeners to reach out to you today?
The best number to get a hold of us is 717-947-7041. Again, that's 717-947-7041.
Jesse, someone here in the studio wanted to know, how many people do you have? A lot of people say they have a team, and it's really just them and their dog. So how many people do you really have on your team?
We've got 5 agents and a licensed real estate admin assistant who's a transaction coordinator, and then we have a regular administrative assistant also. So, I mean, it's 5 licensed realtors, a licensed administrator, and then a standard administrator. So, we're here to provide excellent service. I mean, so when you're hiring Brokers Realty and the Jesse Storm team, you're not only hiring one guy, you're hiring 7 people to help you.
That's a lot of staff at that, and then again, that's extra cost for you, right?
Correct, but again, we do such a large volume, that it's not about getting rich on any one house or trying to take one person over. It's about providing excellent service to everyone and be able to do it in such a large manner that we're able to keep the costs all the same.
So it sounds like to me that you treat everyone as a king or a queen when they're selling their castle, whether it's a mobile home or if it's a McMansion.
Correct. And, we bring these same services to commercial real estate for restaurants and buildings and apartment buildings. But, I don't want to end there with it, because, there are a lot of people out there that have looked at the stock market and looked at their retirement pension plans and, have seen those things over the years fall by the wayside and drop drastically down. What we also do here at Brokers Realty and the Jesse Storm team is we do property management. We do investment programs. So we take individuals who want to invest their money for retirement into a secure platform. And we go out and we find houses for them, we buy them, and then we do property management for them. So they just get a check every month. And we have individuals that are in their late 50s, early 60s, that only have a couple of years left until they're planning on retiring, and they're not certain what's going on with their 401k plans and their retirement pension plans and their Roth IRAs, and what's going to happen when those things fall apart or the market crashes again. The great thing about real estate investing is if the rent's $800 or $1,400, when the market crash happens, the rent's still $800 or $1,400. So, we're able to go out and invest individuals' money for them into buying real estate. We do property management, again, at a very affordable rate to provide excellent service. We do, regular checkups on the house. We collect the money from the tenants. We do electronic deposit into the owner's bank account then for their proceeds. But we have a lot of people, like I say, in their 50s and early 60s who have rolled the money into real estate, and instead of cashing out every time we get a couple of $1,000s more into the account, they then reinvest that into another house. So, prime example is I've got a daughter and father group that started an LLC, took their little bit of retirement, which netted them just over $50,000, and which they were seeing roughly a profit or an increase in that account by about $1,200 or $1,300 a year. And they came to me and said, look, Dad's already retired and living off Social Security. I'm ready to retire in 4 years, and what we have here as a nest egg really is not going to facilitate our needs. So about a year ago, we took that $50,000, went out and invested it into the real estate market on some lower-end homes. We bought them 3 homes. So now they have a positive monthly net cash flow coming in at $2,200.
Wow.
They've left that sit for a couple of months. We went out and bought another property. So that brought them now to a positive cash net flow monthly of roughly $3,000.
Wow.
So the expectation is that they're going to keep reinvesting this positive cash flow every 6 months or so into another property on the lower end scale until they're ready to retire, to build up this cash flow of having, roughly $5,000 to $6,000 a month in income to live off of come retirement.
Wow.
And then when it gets close to retirement, we're going to cash out of the lower end investments and buy in at some higher end, higher quality, long-term hold homes. That way they're not going to have to worry about any major repairs with these homes during their retirement.
And this actually sounds like a whole other show. I mean, sounds like we can just dive into this, for a whole hour almost. And oddly enough, we've been going for about a half an hour now, and we've got a lot of great information here. If all of you that have been listening, if you haven't picked up on how much Jesse really does put into what he does, not only for listing your home, but even on the back end for retirement properties, managing properties, etc. Give him a call. I mean, questions. Jesse, what's that number to call your team again?
717-947-7041.
All right, and we're gonna head to a break, Jesse. So hopefully everybody reaches out to you. And like I said, we're gonna dive into that more with you, I think, on another show. But in the meantime, Merry Christmas to you, your family, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Buying or selling a home? For professional home inspection, call EnviroQuest of Harrisburg. Their certified home inspectors will conduct a thorough inspection and provide a detailed report with many pictures. They'll explain the findings. Do you have elevated radon levels in your house? Call EnviroQuest. They have fixed over 10,000 homes over the last 25 years. For a professional home inspection or radon mitigation, call EnviroQuest at 233-6144, 233-6144, or visit EnviroQuest online at evqharrisburg.com. That's evqharrisburg.com.
Hi, my name is John Rainville, a Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New York real estate broker and realtor. I'm your host for Real Estate Radio Guy. Our show is dedicated to local, state, and national real estate topics, trends, and news revolving around central Pennsylvania. We'll discuss the buying and selling process, mortgages, market conditions, property maintenance, commercial and investment real estate, and more. Real Estate Radio Guy is sponsored by Equity Prime Mortgage, EnviroQuest Inspections, and SearchHomesInPA.com. Join us every Saturday morning from 8 to 9 on WHYL.
Buying or selling a home? For professional home inspection, call EnviroQuest of Harrisburg. Their certified home inspectors will conduct a thorough inspection and provide a detailed report with many pictures. They'll explain the findings. Do you have elevated radon levels in your house? Call EnviroQuest. They have fixed over 10,000 homes over the last 25 years. For a professional home inspection or radon mitigation, call EnviroQuest at 233-6144, 233-6144, or visit EnviroQuest online at evqharrisburg.com. That's evqharrisburg.com. Searching for a home online morning, noon, and night, looking at website after website, clicking contact me and nobody does? Missed homes that were sold before you knew they were for sale? The better choice is searchhomesinpa.com. Search if you want, or they'll do it for you. Contact by phone, email, or text to adjust your search or to tour a property. Start online. They'll call you back at searchhomesinpa.com or call toll-free 855-919-HOME and they'll do it for you. Searchhomesinpa.com, 855-919-4663.
Hi, my name is John Rainville, a Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New York real estate broker and realtor. I'm your host for Real Estate Radio Guy. Our show is dedicated to local, state, and national real estate topics, trends, and news revolving around central Pennsylvania. We'll discuss the buying and selling process, mortgages, market conditions, property maintenance, commercial and investment real estate, and more. Real Estate Radio Guy is sponsored by Equity Prime Mortgage, EnviroQuest Inspections, and SearchHomesInPA.com. Join us every Saturday morning from 8 to 9 on WHYL.
Searching for a home online morning, noon, and night, looking at website after website, clicking contact me and nobody does? Missed homes that were sold before you knew they were for sale? The better choice is searchhomesinpa.com. Search if you want, or they'll do it for you. Contact by phone, email, or text to adjust your search or to tour a property. Start online. They'll call you back at searchhomesinpa.com or call toll-free 855-919-HOME and they'll do it for you. Searchhomesinpa.com, 855-919-4663.
Well, we're back, and that was really interesting with Jesse Storm from the Storm team there. I mean, he does so much marketing, and with the property management, we will have to have him back on.
It's crazy, though, when you hear about, all these realtors out there, they profess to be the experts in their field. And I would say most of the stuff that we just heard, you never hear that from a realtor and what they do. Oh, yeah, we're experts in our field. And they'll throw it on the MLS and, advertise to a couple places. But they never really go to all this trouble to get your house sold.
Right. They put up the sign and pray is what we used to say.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jesse did a great job there. And we've got John Stas on the line. And John is going to be talking this morning and giving us some energy tips here for the winter. Good morning, John. How are you doing?
Good morning.
So we're looking for some tips people can use for the weather. What do you have? What do you have in your bag of tricks today?
Well, the first thing is if you have older windows, best way to think about it with a house with older windows, when you think about a radiator or something that gives off heat, if you have older leaky windows, they can be the opposite of a radiator. They can actually take heat from you. So there's two components to that. The first one is airflow. So infiltration, exfiltration of air. you want to block that. So they make plastic wrap that you can put up, use a hairdryer to install that. That'll help to stop the airflow. The next component is the actual R value of the window. So one of the best things for that, if you don't want to replace your windows, is to get thermally insulated curtains. So that'll, and put those on your leakiest windows or all your windows. And what that'll do is help to increase the R value in that area and stop that leakage that's going to really affect your energy bills.
John, not to interrupt you, but you mentioned radiators, and I've been in homes that have like the steam radiators and that, and I see people and they have books and plants and all things, sorts of stuff stacked on top. Should they have that off in the winter?
Yeah, it's best to keep those free because the radiator works on a principle of airflow around it and convection and heat. So you want to keep those free so that the actual process can work. They make some interesting products now as far as radiators. You can get actual reflective, it's like a foam padding that you install behind the radiator against the wall, and then it has a reflective surface. So what that does is reflects the heat back out into the room and keeps heat from maybe going into an older wall that might be a little bit colder. So it reflects to maximize the efficiency of the radiator.
So I mean, when and I just thought about this while you were talking there. So even if somebody has electric baseboard or hot water baseboard heat, they should be paying attention as to, is there stuff stacked up against that so that air can flow around that? Is that correct?
Yeah. One of the big things that mistakes that people make with, especially like baseboard convectors, is at the bottom of that convector there's about a 1-inch gap, and sometimes people will put a rug or a carpet and stuff that right underneath that gap. If air can't flow through that and work on the principles of airflow, convection, radiate that heat out, that'll stop the airflow and the unit won't produce heat.
So it's sort of like
that's
that opening.
The thing is to make sure that opening at the bottom is open,
so it can pull like the cold air and let that go up through and get heated. That makes sense.
Yeah. The cool air goes in the bottom, and then the hot air comes out the top of the convector.
What I mean, is this a good time that they should be out there, making sure that their furnace filter's clean?
Yeah. For the wintertime, you want to, if you have especially oil or something that requires more maintenance, you want to get your unit serviced this time of the year. For the change of season, you want to check your balancing of your HVAC system. If you have returns, sometimes on the wall there'll be low returns and high returns. So during the winter, you want to pull the cool air off the bottom into those returns. So you close the top, open the bottom, and then of course it's the opposite during the summer. So you want to check those. If you maybe have a return in your basement, where if your basement's unheated and you have a return, you may want to consider closing that so you're not pulling cooler air into that system. So,
anything we should do with the water heater right now this time of year? Is this a good time to do that draining of the water heater? Does that make them any more efficient if we get the dirt out of the bottom?
Yeah, it depends on the quality of the water, how much sediment's in your water, but yeah, that can definitely muck up those elements if you have a lot of sediment in your water heater. So yeah, it's good to, say, once a year, depending on how much sediment's in your water, to hook a hose up to that, drain that water heater out to clear out any sediment.
Oh, everyone's always told, says, about the ceiling fans, to reverse them in, the winter from over the summer so that it's blowing the opposite direction. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. A lot of the modern houses will have like a cathedral, a grand entrance or a cathedral ceiling, or, a living room that has a high ceiling. So if you get the ceiling fan so it's blowing that air, the warm air down, it'll help to recirculate and get the maximum amount of heat out of that air before it dissipates from the home. So yeah, you can do a lot of things with the fans and airflow. Another idea is, to decide is if you have an air-based heating system, there'll be, with the thermostat, there's two modes. There's an on mode and an auto mode. So if you have that on mode, it's circulating the air all the time, and some of these systems may have ductwork that goes up through your attic, so you may actually, by having that on all the time, you're circulating air through your attic more than it needs to be. Whereas if you set that on auto, the air flow will only turn on when the unit calls for heat. So that can result in some savings as well.
What about window treatments? Can they help us cut down our energy costs at all?
Sure, yeah. They make thermally insulated window treatments. So thermal window treatments, they can definitely help. Once again, we get back to the two components, the airflow. If you have a lot of air coming through your windows, that's going to wash out the R value right out of those window treatments. So you want to stop the airflow with, plastic film or whatever. If you have older windows that are leaky, then the thermal treatments will help a lot as well.
And so I guess probably the opposite of what we tend to do in the summer. So probably let the sun in when it's shining, and then close up the windows, after the sun's down, so that it can probably hold some more of the heat in. Would that be correct?
Yeah. Your the direction of your home, where your south windows are, of course, that can make a huge difference in how your house heats up during the day and then cools off during the night. So being aware of the direction of the path of the sun can definitely make a difference.
John, what's your thoughts on those? I mean, I see them advertised all the time, like those Amish infrared heaters. And it always just seems funny to me that the Amish would have an infrared heater. But, those electric heaters, is that really doing anything, or is a homeowner really just zoning their heat when they use those?
I have heard people say that, that they work great, but when it comes down to it, electric heat is electric heat. The BTU output for electric heat is the same. I have heard that, for example, the oil-filled electric heaters, but when it comes right down to it, the BTU output is the same for all electric heat. Maybe the delivery system can be a little more efficient on some methodologies over the other, but basically there's still electric heat. But I have heard people swear by those and say that they've cut their electric bills by using those infrared heaters.
I know a couple of my neighbors have wood stoves. Is there anything in particular that they should be doing right now this time of year? I mean, I guess they should really get their chimneys in that cleaned. What do you recommend?
You want to make sure that, especially if you're burning wood, because it is a pretty dirty thing to burn, you have to maintain your chimney, get it cleaned on a regular basis. And then also another thing you want to watch out for with those is make sure you have the proper clearances for a wood stove. What can happen is as you're burning that wood stove, it dries out everything around it. So if you have combustible things like wood that are too close to it, it dries those out, and then it raises the flash point of that wood so that it becomes hazardous. So you want to make sure, if you have an older one or something, get it inspected and make sure you have all the proper clearances.
John, a typical wood-burning fireplace, I've been told over the years that sort of actually sucks the heat out of the house. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. If you look at it logically, you have a chimney and fireplace, you have that damper. If that's open and you're not burning a fire, or if it's not sealed tight, a lot of your heated air in your house can just go right up the chimney and right out of the house.
So
your house.
So would you recommend that they get the glass doors on them?
Yeah, the doors can help. If you have a chimney that's not in use, they actually make it's a balloon that you put it up into your chimney and it inflates and it seals that air tight and stops that airflow. With the most dampers are not real airtight. They're sort of loose fitting in there. So a lot of air, even if that damper's closed, a lot of air can get around that. So they do make that balloon product for a chimney balloon. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but they do make that product for chimneys, or like you said, a glass door or some sort of door that regulates airflow and can seal that off. Those things are all helpful.
What are your thoughts on if they have that old, wood-burning fireplace? I know there are like logs that you can put in there that are either gas or propane, and then you can actually shut the damper. Are they pretty efficient, or is that a good way for auxiliary heat?
They are more efficient because you don't have the air going. A unit that doesn't exhaust the outside, all of the heat is going into your house. The downside of those is that you're getting combustion products going into the house. And, they usually say on the instructions for those, if somebody has respiratory problems or young children, that you want to crack a window. So I don't really like those because they're relying on, they have a sensor that senses the amount of oxygen that's in the air, and they have an emergency shutoff. But, I just don't like the idea of putting combustion products into the interior airspace. Because
those are probably things that you probably can't even smell or sense. Is that right?
Yeah. A lot of times you can smell. You can smell because the pilot, even if the unit's not on, the pilot's burning, and then that little bit of exhaust that's coming from the pilot, you can smell that. And then obviously when you turn the unit up, really can make it smell. They're starting to come out with a whole array of different propane and gas burning fireplace inserts. So you can get a professional to come out and tell them how many BTU do you want to produce, and they look at the size of the room, size of your house, and then they design or they pick a product that'll best suit your needs. So there's a whole array of different inserts and stoves and things that are available now that have come on the market in, let's say, the past 10 years or so.
Do either of these products, are any of them better for roasting chestnuts?
Yeah, they're definitely good for that, especially if you get a wood stove.
So a wood stove fire, right? or a fireplace, I guess, would be the question. Any particular variation thereof? Do you have an opinion? Which one would be better?
Yeah, you definitely need to roast the chestnuts on an open fire, right?
All right.
The song says.
Ding, ding, ding. All right, and it is Merry Christmas, and that's what we're here for. So, hey, for John, sure. If we've got somebody that's got questions on, how to set up their heating or anything to that effect when it comes to, protecting the home, when it comes to placement of fireplaces or wood stoves or propane, what is the best remedy or best phone number to get a hold of you?
Yeah, for EnviroQuest, our phone number is 717-233-6144, or the website is evqharrisburg.com.
All right, and one more time with that phone number.
Phone number is 717-233-6144.
John, have a Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thanks for being on our show, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So we've had an interesting show. We've learned a lot about why you should put your home on the market. I think one of the things that people don't understand or probably just looked past is that we actually had a fairly decent year. And I know next week we're going to probably wrap up a little bit with a little bit more information on that.
That's correct. Next week we're going to be going over what happened in the year. The market just really, where it went, where we see it going. We're going to give you some local market statistics so you get a real feel for things that are going. But I know Kingsley's got some numbers for you right now on the national level.
Yeah, and on a national level, it's what's interesting about that is I think PA has outperformed
absolutely
a lot of the country. So, in my opinion, I think 2017 is gearing up to be a huge year for everybody. As far as markets, home sales, if you're looking to get your home sold, really start looking into it now. Make sure you pick the right realtor. I mean, Jesse Storm with the Storm team does so much more to marketing somebody's home than your typical realtor. So, if you're thinking about selling it, at least put them on the checklist of people to talk to at the very least. Last year, on average, just a couple of things to think about going into next year. Homes have sold on average every day 15,370.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal amount.
I never
every day.
Never even thought
Every
about
day.
it. You'd think, okay,
Every
maybe
day.
100 homes, couple hundred homes. 15,370 a day. That's crazy.
It is.
And the sad thing is even with prices up, which are at 6.8% nationally, sales are up 15.4% over last year. I mean, that's a huge difference, folks. I mean, the market's coming back. The sad thing is, for all of you that want to go down to Florida and retire and get your home on the market, our inventory is down 9.3% from last year, which means we've got more people wanting to buy. Home prices are up, and people are still gun-shy about putting their home on the market. So, I mean, these are some of the things that we're going to discuss, I think, in length next week, as far as where we see it heading, where it has been.
And if you have any questions about is the timing right, to put my house on the market or what my house is worth, feel free to reach out to Kingsley and I at 717-249-1787. We'd love to talk with you about it and see, show you what's going on in the market in your current local market right there around your house.
Yeah, and I'm real excited about, the coming year. We've got a bunch of new programs that are coming out, too, for those that are looking to buy. So this is only going to bolster, the market itself for people looking to buy. So we really do need the homes in the market and the inventory. And we're going to go over a lot of that next week. But we want to wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and, of course, we'll wish you a New Year again next week. But Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Please spend it with your families wisely because you only get so many of those moments. Thank you, guys.
Buying or selling a home? For professional home inspection, call EnviroQuest of Harrisburg. Their certified home inspectors will conduct a thorough inspection and provide a detailed report with many pictures. They'll explain the findings. Do you have elevated radon levels in your house? Call EnviroQuest. They have fixed over 10,000 homes over the last 25 years. For a professional home inspection or radon mitigation, call EnviroQuest at 233-6144, 233-6144, or visit EnviroQuest online at evqharrisburg.com. That's evqharrisburg.com.
Hi, my name is John Rainville, a Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New York real estate broker and realtor. I'm your host for Real Estate Radio Guy. Our show is dedicated to local, state, and national real estate topics, trends, and news revolving around central Pennsylvania. We'll discuss the buying and selling process, mortgages, market conditions, property maintenance, commercial and investment real estate, and more. Real Estate Radio Guy is sponsored by Equity Prime Mortgage, EnviroQuest Inspections, and SearchHomesInPA.com. Join us every Saturday morning from 8 to 9 on WHYL.
Buying or selling a home? For professional home inspection, call EnviroQuest of Harrisburg. Their certified home inspectors will conduct a thorough inspection and provide a detailed report with many pictures. They'll explain the findings. Do you have elevated radon levels in your house? Call EnviroQuest. They have fixed over 10,000 homes over the last 25 years. For a professional home inspection or radon mitigation, call EnviroQuest at 233-6144, 233-6144, or visit EnviroQuest online at evqharrisburg.com. That's evqharrisburg.com. You've been listening to the Real Estate Radio Guy with real estate broker John Rainville. Listen each week at this time and learn all about buying and selling, mortgages, market conditions, property maintenance, and much more. It's brought to you by Equity Prime Mortgage, EnviroQuest Inspections, and SearchHomesInPA.com. It's the Real Estate Radio Guy, Saturday mornings at 8 on Oldies 102.9 and AM 960 WHYL.
Joe Ricky in the morning. WHYL.